The rain had just stopped, but the streets were still wet. Water drops slowly fell from the metal roofs of small shops. People rushed through the evening market, carrying bags and talking loudly. No one paid attention to the old man standing near the fruit stall. He looked weak and tired. His clothes were strange. A long gray coat that looked older than the buildings around him. His hands were thin and shaking as he tried to lift a bag of groceries. Apples rolled across the ground. People walked past him. Some looked at him for a second, but then quickly looked away. No one wanted to help. The old man slowly bent down, trying to pick up the apples, but his back was too weak. Then suddenly, a young human stopped. His name was Ethan Cole. Ethan was just a normal delivery worker. He had finished his long shift and was walking home. His shoes were dirty, and his backpack was half broken. But when he saw the apples rolling across the wet road, he sighed and walked toward the old man. Without saying anything, Ethan bent down and started picking them up. "Here," Ethan said simply. "You dropped these." The old man looked at him with quiet eyes. For a moment he didn't speak. It almost felt like he was studying Ethan, like he was trying to understand something very important. Then he slowly smiled. "Thank you, young human," the old man said in a calm voice. Ethan placed the apples back into the bag and handed it to him. "You should be careful," Ethan said. "The ground is slippery." The old man nodded slowly. "Yes, the ground of this world is very different." Ethan paused. "That's a weird way to say it," he said with a small laugh. The old man only smiled again. Ethan noticed something strange then. The old man's eyes. They were not normal. For just a moment, they seemed to glow faintly blue, like distant stars. Ethan blinked, but the glow was gone. "Are you new in the city?" Ethan asked. "In a way, yes," the old man replied. Ethan picked up the last grocery bag from the ground. "You shouldn't carry all this alone. Where do you live? I can walk with you." The old man looked surprised. "You would do that?" "Sure," Ethan shrugged. "It's on my way." That wasn't actually true, but Ethan said it anyway. The old man studied him again. Then he slowly nodded. "Very well." They began walking through the crowded street together. The market lights flickered above them. People shouted prices, children laughed, and music played from small speakers. But something felt strange. As they walked, Ethan noticed something odd. People were moving around them, but somehow they always kept a distance. It was like the crowd was avoiding the old man without realizing it. Ethan frowned. "Do you feel that?" he asked. "Feel what?" the old man asked. "It's like people don't want to get close to you." The old man chuckled softly. "That happens sometimes." Ethan scratched his head. "You must have a strong smell or something." The old man laughed quietly. "Perhaps." They turned down a quieter street. The market noise slowly faded behind them. Tall buildings surrounded them now. The air felt colder. Ethan adjusted the grocery bag on his shoulder. "You live far?" he asked. "Not very far," the old man said. Then he added quietly, "But far enough." Ethan didn't understand what that meant. After a few minutes of walking, they stopped in front of a small old apartment building. The lights inside flickered. Ethan looked at it. "You live here?" "For now," the old man said. Ethan handed him the groceries. "Well, here you go." The old man took the bags slowly. Then he looked directly at Ethan again. This time his eyes glowed again. Brighter. Like blue fire hidden inside them. Ethan froze. "What was that?" he whispered. The old man didn't answer immediately. Instead he asked a strange question. "Tell me, Ethan Cole. Why did you help me?" Ethan blinked. "How do you know my name?" The old man smiled slightly. "I asked you a question first." Ethan shrugged. "I don't know. You needed help. That's all." "No reward?" the old man asked. "No. No reason." Ethan shook his head. "It's just the right thing to do." For a moment, the street became very quiet. Even the wind stopped moving. The old man slowly nodded. "Interesting." Ethan felt uncomfortable. Look, if this is some kind of joke. But before he could finish his sentence, something unbelievable happened. The street lights suddenly flickered. The air around them started to vibrate softly. Ethan stepped back. What's going on? The old man stood straight. No longer weak. No longer shaking. His back became strong. His eyes burned like twin stars. The tired old man was suddenly gone. In his place stood someone powerful. Someone ancient. Someone terrifying. Ethan's heart started pounding. The old man looked up at the dark sky. Then he spoke in a calm voice. 3,000 years. Ethan stared at him. What? 3,000 years since someone helped me without fear. Ethan felt cold. You're not human. The old man turned back toward him. No. His voice was deeper now. Older. I am not. Ethan slowly backed away. Then what are you? The old man watched him carefully. For a moment he seemed to think. Then he finally answered. I once ruled over half the galaxy. Ethan laughed nervously. Yet good joke. But the old man raised his hand. Above them, the clouds split open. For 1 second. Just 1 second. Ethan saw something impossible. Hundreds of massive alien ships hidden in the dark sky. Watching. Waiting. Ethan's breath stopped. The clouds closed again. The sky looked normal. But Ethan knew what he had seen. He looked back at the old man with wide eyes. You're serious? The old man nodded slowly. Yes. Ethan whispered. Why are they here? The old man looked directly at him and said something that made Ethan's heart stop. They are waiting for my command. Ethan's hands started shaking. Command for what? The old man walked closer. His glowing eyes locked onto Ethan. For the first time in centuries, he said quietly, I may have finally found a human worth trusting. Ethan swallowed. What do you mean? The old alien gave a small mysterious smile. Tell me, Ethan Cole. Would you like to hear how I lost half the galaxy? Ethan didn't answer. Because deep down, he had the strange feeling that helping this old alien might be the most important decision of his entire life. Or the most dangerous. And somewhere high above Earth, the hidden alien fleet continued to watch, waiting for their king to speak again. Ethan Cole could not stop staring at the old alien. Just a few minutes ago, the man looked weak and tired. Now he stood straight like a powerful ruler. His eyes glowed softly like blue stars in the night. Ethan's heart was beating fast. Above the clouds, hidden in the dark sky, hundreds of alien ships were waiting. Waiting for this old man. Waiting for their king. Ethan slowly stepped back. You ruled half the galaxy, he asked. The old alien nodded calmly. Yes. Long ago. Ethan rubbed his face. This has to be a dream. It is not, the alien said quietly. For a moment, both of them stood in silence on the empty street. Then Ethan asked the question that had been stuck in his mind. If you ruled the galaxy, why are you here? Buying groceries in a small market. The alien looked toward the sky. His glowing eyes reflected the stars. Because I lost everything. Ethan frowned. How? The alien was about to answer. But suddenly the air vibrated. A low humming sound filled the sky. Ethan looked up quickly. The clouds began to move again. But this time something huge was pushing through them. A giant shadow appeared above the city. Then another. And another. Massive alien ships slowly revealed themselves. Their metal surfaces glowed with strange blue lights. Each ship was bigger than a skyscraper. Ethan's mouth dropped open. My God. Cars stopped on the streets. People pointed at the sky. Phones came out everywhere. Someone screamed. The city was now in full panic. Sirens began to ring in the distance. The alien fleet was no longer hiding. They had come. The old alien sighed softly. They found me sooner than I expected. Ethan looked at him. Who are they? The old alien answered calmly. My people. Suddenly, a beam of bright blue light shot down from the largest ship in the sky. The light landed in the middle of the street in front of them. The ground shook. Ethan jumped back. What is that? From the beam of light, 3 tall figures slowly appeared. They were not human. Their bodies were covered in silver armor that looked alive. Their eyes glowed with the same blue light as the old alien. Each one stood almost 8 feet tall. Warriors. They stepped forward and immediately dropped to one knee. The entire street became silent. People watching from far away held their breath. The leader of the warriors lowered his head. Then he spoke in a powerful voice. My emperor, we have searched the stars for you. Ethan froze. He looked at the old alien. Emperor. The old alien did not look happy. Rise, Commander Varys, he said calmly. The warrior stood up. His glowing eyes were filled with relief. The Empire is waiting for you, my lord, Varys said. The war still burns across the galaxy. Ethan felt a chill run through his body. War, he whispered. The old emperor looked tired again. That war ended long ago for me. Commander Varys shook his head. No, my lord. It never ended. Ethan's mind was spinning. Aliens. Empire. Va. None of this made sense. Then Varys noticed Ethan standing beside the emperor. The commander looked confused. A human, he said. The other warriors also turned toward Ethan. Their glowing eyes studied him. Ethan raised his hands nervously. Ooh. Varys looked back at the emperor. My lord, why is this human with you? For a moment the emperor said nothing. Then he answered simply. He helped me. The warriors looked shocked. Varys frowned. This species is primitive. They are not even part of the Galactic Council. Still, the emperor said calmly, he helped me when no one else did. Ethan scratched his head. I just helped him pick up groceries. The warriors looked confused again. Varys spoke carefully. My lord, the fleets of 12 star systems are waiting for your command. If you return, the Empire will rise again. The emperor looked at the sky. Hundreds of ships were glowing above the city. All waiting. All loyal. But his face showed sadness. I left the Empire for a reason, he said quietly. Varys' voice became serious. The enemy you once defeated has returned. The emperor's eyes suddenly became sharp. Impossible. Varys shook his head. We thought the same. But the Dark Dominion has rebuilt its armies. Ethan whispered. Dark Dominion? Varys continued. They are destroying worlds again. The emperor clenched his hand slowly. That war cost billions of lives, he said. And now it begins again, Varys replied. The street became quiet. People in the distance were still watching the strange scene. Ethan looked at the emperor. If they're destroying worlds, why are you standing here? The emperor looked at him. Because power always brings more war. Ethan shook his head. But doing nothing also brings war. The emperor paused. Those simple words hit him harder than any weapon. Ethan continued. I don't know anything about galaxies or empires, but if someone bad is hurting people, someone has to stop them. The alien warriors watched Ethan in silence. The emperor looked at the young human carefully. Why do humans think like this? He asked softly. Ethan shrugged. Not all humans do. Then he smiled slightly. But some of us try. The emperor slowly turned toward the sky again. Thousands of lights from the alien fleet were shining above the earth. Waiting. Trusting him. Then suddenly, a loud explosion echoed across the sky. Everyone looked up. One of the alien ships suddenly burst into flames. Ethan shouted. What happened? Commander Varys activated a glowing device on his arm. His eyes widened. Enemy ships. More explosions flashed in the sky. Dark, jagged ships suddenly appeared through space. They looked like shadows with red glowing engines. The Dark Dominion had arrived. Ethan whispered in shock. They followed you here. Varys looked at the emperor urgently. My lord, we must leave immediately. Another explosion shook the sky. People in the city began screaming and running. The emperor stood still. His eyes slowly burned brighter. The ancient ruler was waking up again. After centuries of silence, the king of half the galaxy was about to return. He turned to Ethan. You should run, he said calmly. Ethan shook his head. No. The emperor looked surprised. You cannot fight this war. Maybe not, Ethan said. But I can still stand here. For a moment, the emperor smiled, a real smile this time. Humans are interesting creatures. Then he raised his hand toward the sky. Across space, the entire alien fleet suddenly lit up. Weapons powered on. Engines roared like thunder. Commander Varys spoke with pride. The Emperor has returned. The Emperor's voice echoed through the night. Prepare the fleet. The massive ships moved into battle formation. Red enemy ships rushed toward Earth. Ethan looked up at the impossible battle about to begin. His small act of kindness had just pulled Earth into a galactic war. And this was only the beginning. The Emperor looked down at Ethan one last time. Stay alive, human, he said. Ethan swallowed nervously. I'll try. Above them, the battle for Earth was about to start, and the galaxy's lost king had finally taken back his throne. The sky above Earth had turned into a battlefield. Bright flashes of blue and red light filled the clouds. Massive alien ships moved across the sky like floating cities. Their engines roared like thunder. People across the city were running in panic. Some hid inside buildings. Others stared at the sky in fear. No one had ever seen anything like this before. Ethan Cole stood frozen in the middle of the street, looking up. Just a few hours ago, he was a normal delivery worker. Now he was standing next to an ancient alien emperor, while two galactic armies fought above Earth. Another explosion shook the sky. One of the enemy ships burst into flames and fell into the ocean far away. Commander Varys looked at the battle through a glowing screen on his arm. The Dark Dominion fleet is larger than expected, he said. The old emperor watched the sky calmly, but his eyes burned with ancient power. They have grown stronger, he said quietly. Ethan looked nervous. So, this war is happening because of you? The emperor looked at him. In a way. Another loud blast echoed across the city. Red beams of energy shot from the enemy ships, hitting the emperor's fleet. Several imperial ships exploded into pieces. Commander Varys shouted. Our defenses are weakening. The emperor raised his hand. High above the clouds, the imperial fleet changed formation instantly. Ships moved like a single living creature. Powerful blue weapons fired across the sky. Several enemy ships were destroyed in seconds. Ethan watched in shock. You're controlling all of them? Yes, the emperor said calmly. How? Ethan asked. The fleet is connected to me. Ethan blinked. That sounds stressful. For a moment, the emperor almost laughed. But suddenly, Varys spoke urgently. My lord, the enemy flagship has appeared. A massive dark ship slowly moved out from the clouds. It was enormous, bigger than all the others. Its red lights glowed like burning eyes. Ethan felt a cold chill. That thing looks evil, he said quietly. The emperor's face became serious. That ship carries the warlord of the Dark Dominion. Varys looked worried. He is the one who rebuilt their empire. The emperor's glowing eyes narrowed. Then this war ends tonight. He raised both hands toward the sky. Across the battlefield, hundreds of imperial ships suddenly focused their weapons on the enemy flagship. Energy began building. The sky glowed brighter and brighter. But suddenly, Varys shouted, My lord, enemy shields are too strong. The energy blast hit the dark ship. But the ship survived. Only small damage appeared on its surface. Ethan stared. That didn't work. Varys looked alarmed. My lord, our weapons cannot break their shield. The emperor lowered his hands slowly. For the first time he looked uncertain. That technology did not exist during the last war. Then the dark flagship fired back. A massive red beam shot across the sky. 3 imperial ships were destroyed instantly. The battle was turning. Ethan looked at the emperor. You said that ship is controlled by their leader, right? Yes, the emperor answered. Ethan thought for a moment. Then he asked a strange question. If you destroy that ship, the war ends? Most likely, the emperor said. Ethan looked up at the sky again. Then he pointed. Why don't you just go there? Varys looked shocked. That is impossible. The flagship is surrounded by hundreds of warships. Ethan shrugged. So? Varys stared at him. You would be destroyed instantly. Ethan looked back at the emperor. But you're the emperor of half the galaxy. The emperor watched Ethan carefully. What are you suggesting? Ethan smiled slightly. Sometimes the fastest way to stop a bully is to punch the leader. Varys looked horrified. My lord, this human does not understand strategy. But the emperor remained silent. He was thinking. Then slowly he smiled. Actually, the Emperor said quietly, this human understands it perfectly. Varys froze. My lord. The Emperor looked at the sky. For thousands of years, my enemies expected careful strategies. His eyes glowed brighter. They will not expect something human. Suddenly, a small glowing ship appeared above the street. It was sleek and powerful. The Emperor turned to Ethan. I must end this war myself. Ethan nodded. Good plan. Varys looked desperate. My lord, this is too dangerous. The Emperor stepped toward the ship. I once ruled half the galaxy because I was willing to face danger. Then he looked back at Ethan. You reminded me of that. Ethan smiled nervously. No pressure then. The Emperor stepped inside the small ship. Its engines lit up like a blue star. Then it shot into the sky faster than lightning. Ethan watched as the small ship flew straight into the middle of the battle. Enemy ships fired at it. But the ship moved too fast. It dodged every attack. Commander Varys watched the screen in shock. He is heading directly for the flagship. Ethan crossed his arms. Yep. Punched the leader. The small ship suddenly disappeared inside the giant dark flagship. For a moment, everything became silent. The battle paused. Both fleets waited. Then suddenly, a massive explosion erupted from the center of the dark ship. The enemy flagship broke apart in a giant fireball. Shockwaves spread across the sky. The remaining Dark Dominion ships stopped moving. Without their leader, their fleet began retreating. The war was over. People across the city stared at the sky in disbelief. Slowly, the alien ships began leaving Earth. The Imperial fleet disappeared back into the stars. A few minutes later, the small glowing ship returned. It landed gently in front of Ethan. The Emperor stepped out. His coat was slightly burned, but he looked calm. Ethan grinned. So, did you punch the leader? The Emperor smiled. Yes. Commander Varys approached. My lord, the enemy fleet has retreated. The war is finished. The Emperor nodded. Then he looked at Ethan. For centuries I believed power was the only way to rule the galaxy. He paused. But today a human reminded me of something important. Ethan scratched his head. What's that? The Emperor smiled. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change the fate of galaxies. Above them, the last alien ships disappeared into deep space. The Emperor stepped back toward his ship. I must return to rebuild the Empire. Ethan nodded. Good luck. The Emperor stopped for a moment. Then he said something surprising. Earth will soon join the galactic community. Ethan blinked. Wait, what? The Emperor smiled. After all, this world produced a human who helped a stranger without fear. Then the ship lifted into the sky. Within seconds, it vanished among the stars. Ethan stood alone on the quiet street again. The battle was over. The galaxy had changed. And it all started with one simple moment. A human helping an old alien pick up his groceries.